Welcome back to the Trading Alchemist. It is June 15th, 2026. It's Monday, everyone. And yeah, we've got a lot to go over. But before we do, I want to go over a couple things about this channel to make sure that you understand what it is that I'm doing and what I hope that you get out of it. Anytime that I'm making a trade or I'm making a plan, I put it out on this channel so that, one, I'm journaling, and two, I want you to understand what my mindset is in trading, where I think that it's going to go, why it's going to go there, and and how to play it. And over time, I've recorded over 100 videos, not only just about my trades, but also mindsets and psychology and all of that, because it plays a role in how you trade. Now, I believe that psychology plays a huge role in how you trade the chart and what you do. I mean, in everyday life, right? And if you can't understand the psychology part of it, then you're going to have a really hard time making decisions in these charts. And by the psychology part of it, I mean understanding who you are and what you can do and, kind of your limitations or your flaws or anything like that. Now, one of the hardest things to do is to actually push the button to buy, right? The other part that's hard is to sell. But the really hard part, I find, is actually taking profit. And through time, I have shown how I've made plans and I've taken profit. And you can go back to all my videos to see exactly what I'm talking about. But I've made it very clear what my plans are, and I do it way, way in advance. And I'm going to show you in this video now how some of those plans have worked out. And where we are right now is something that I showed a few weeks ago where we would have gone. Now, it's given you plenty of time to do research yourself and figure it out, because maybe you don't like what I'm showing. Maybe you don't believe me. I mean, that's on you. And, it's on me too. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? But what I'm looking for in this channel is I'm looking for you guys to actually extract some of the information that I'm giving so that it can give you a better edge. And if it helps you out at all, great. That's the whole point of it. But at this point, I've given some really, really hot tips and some alpha that has played out, and I really hope that some of you have taken advantage of that. If you haven't, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. There are plenty of trades that are coming up. But we are at a very critical point right now where I feel like we are getting closer to the bottom of the bear market. And I stated in my last video that if we touched around 50, I would be going in very heavy, and I did. And at this point, the chart is now changing direction, and there's still time. And I explained why. So let's go over some of that stuff and let's see exactly where we are and what might be coming up in the future and how I plan to play, these charts a little bit more. Okay, let's jump into this. So last we left off, I believe we were around 66,800, probably right around here. Okay, and we took a major continuation to the downside, right? So let's zoom in a little bit and let's take a look at some stuff. Now, I usually start the video off with this full range here so that you can see, okay? It looks messy, but if you've been following along with everything, you can actually see what's going on. We are in this range right over here, and I just want to point that out because this is relevant to this side that we're on right over here. The other thing is that this was the range above, right over here. This was the range above. So this is also relevant to where we are right now as well. So I like to start off like that only because I want to give you the full picture. If you can't see the past, then you won't really understand what might be going on in the future. But let's jump in close here. Let's jump right in. All right. So now I've got some labels here, and I want to kind of bring up some information. First of all, I've longed Bitcoin at this point, and when we were down over here, I actually bought spot, just like I said I would. And if you notice, this was the low right over here, 59K. And yeah, so far so good, okay? But there's a reason why I feel we didn't go any lower. Let me turn this off for a second. And we're looking at the 12-hour chart, and I want to point this out right over here. This is the area that I was talking about before as to where we're going to come back. I said we were going to come back and fill this wick, and we have now filled this wick completely, okay? And if you notice, we actually went a little bit below the wick. right? So meaning if somebody longed over here, they might have been taken out by this. I have a video specifically about where you can actually get in and what the mindset is with some of these longs and shorts, right? Like where it's going to be. So again, like just as a review here, this wick here is something that I believe we were going to come back to, and it did. It completely filled out. So now, what are we doing? I'm going to switch charts, okay, just for now. I'm going to switch charts. I'm going to switch over to this chart right over here, okay? So again, looking at history, and history has a way of repeating itself. It usually echoes, right? Here is the, hold on a second. Here is the halfway mark right over here, halfway mark right over here, halfway mark right over here. Now notice that there was this really big dip down that kind of went and, you know, it continued down to the very end here. Same thing over here. Look, we popped up a little bit, right? And then we continued down, and then there was like this really big down movement, and that was the end of the bear market, right? That's when everything shifted into the bull market. Same thing over here. And here we are, you know, again, we passed the halfway mark, and yeah, this was a pretty significant move down, right? But there's a couple things I want you to notice in this. And I'm gonna zoom up just a little bit more so that you could see as I kind of go over this. Let's do it in blue, okay? So notice this right over here. This is an order block right here, okay? And if you notice, I've got this line that goes over here. Actually, it's like a rectangle, right? And what happened is when the bear market happened, it actually came down into this zone, and it actually touched the bottom of it, right? For this order block over here. Now, that being said, if you look at where we are right over here, this is an order block of the previous bull run that we had. And if you notice, we are in this block right over here, and it touched the bottom. Now, this is why I believe we may have more downside. First of all, this is when I believe that the bear market is going to end. It's sometime around September, something like that. September, August, end of August, maybe September, something like that. That's what I'm looking at, okay? Could be October. But let's just say that those are the 3 months that I'm looking at. You need to be prepared beforehand. Now, if we do start to run up a little bit, I do think that we've got one more kind of collapse that might happen. And part of the reason why I believe that is a couple of things. First of all, we're not here yet, right? And second, this wick over here is kind of like what I'm looking at, right? Similar to this wick being filled out. If you notice, this area right over here actually filled this tiny wick right over here, okay? And this one right over here actually filled this wick that was right there, and then it called it quits. This actually felt like we were about to take off. The bull market is about to take off right over here. Same thing over here. If you notice, there's like this triangle pattern that happens here, right? And they're both the same. So why wouldn't it happen over here? I mean, like, could we do something like this? Why not? I mean, I don't, like, so far everything's been going exactly the way it's been mapped out, you know? So I'm preparing for that. In the meantime, you know, there's a difference between having time in the market and timing the market. And some people are not good at timing the market. So I bought in a spot right around here, right at the bottom here. And if we do dip down over here to like 40 something, then I will DCA in very, very heavy. So at this point, I'm trying to build a couple more, you know, I'm trying to build some capital. And I think I have some time for that, right? But in the meantime, if for some reason it decides to do something different because we are at the order block from the previous range, if this is the quit zone, like, okay, it survives, like it's sufficient enough, and it decides to take off, well, guess what? I'm already in the market. So like, I'm willing to take that pain of being like, I'm down 20% or 30%, maybe even 50%, whatever, and I'm going to DCA in. So if we were to take the other thing I want to show again is this ribbon idea, okay? So now, take a look at these ribbons again. I'm going to turn this off so that you can see and really let's really digest this. Okay. Now, you know that this was the end of the bear market end of the bear market 2 cycles ago. Okay. And notice that it ripped up, but then it came back and hit this white ribbon here, right? And then we had another bull run. right? There's the bull run, and this was the end of the bull of the bear market right there. But look what it did. It hit the white. Again, it went a little bit underneath the white. Notice there's a little bit of a nub here. Notice there's a nub here. I mean, I'm gonna say that there's a nub here. We have not quite touched it yet. We have not touched it. So if we do touch it, I do believe we're gonna come underneath it a bit, like, you know, like really create that extreme fear. So I'm prepared for that, right? So if we look, here's where the white line is right here. This is actually at, what is this at? Let me see here, the coordinates. It's at 56K, around, I'd say 57, 56K, in between there, right? But underneath the ribbon, you're talking about 49K. And look at that. I mean, it lines up with this right over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a line in here. Okay, let me try to get this line in. Add this line in here, just like so. Okay, and I've got this right over here. I'm gonna add this rectangle, wherever it is. Where are you? Oh, it's in this one right here. Okay, here it is, right here. Okay, there we go. Target. I'll leave this on the chart. You guys now know, what I'm looking at, right? In the meantime, let's take a look really closely at what is actually going on in these charts right now and why things are kind of booming. So I'm back over at this messy chart, and I leave it messy on purpose because it actually has all of my notes from all the previous stuff, So let's jump into the 12-hour here. I had a mark on the chart. Victoire. We're almost there. We're almost at Victoire. We almost touched it. Now Victoire actually is this order block here on the left. That's what I was looking at for a target for my long. I've taken profit at this point. And if we go up a little bit higher, I mean, where I think the resistance would be is one, I believe the resistance is right over here at this point, right? Could we push a little bit higher? I'm looking for this blue line to be hit and have some kind of reaction. On the other hand, if it does end up going up higher, I mean, it's possible that we would hit right over here. Okay, so you see this wick. Now, the reason why I feel like we would hit over here, or especially kind of in this zone right over here, is because these are fair value gaps right here. Notice there are no wicks that are like, there's not a wick that's covering this, and there's not a wick that's covering that. So these are kind of like really open. So if we do kind of go to that zone, we need to kind of like, fill in this section right up to here. We need to fill in this section. So if we start to reverse over here, we are in this full range right over here. This is the full range that we're in. And I believe that this is the middle of the range that we're currently in. So if we lose this, I think we would come back down to here, okay? Or we can come back down to here. And again, I'm looking for a target that's way below, okay? But there's no reason why we can't go up right now, especially with the news that there's some positive news in the media, and it might be driving these charts a little bit higher. But don't get too excited yet. Okay, because even though this feels like we are going up like so, we can very well reverse over here and come back down here, because there is, like, first of all, you can see there's a wick right over here. But second of all, I mean, this is unbalanced, right? And we've already played that role where like it's balanced, it's unbalanced, right? So this can come back down over here and kind of fill that area in. What I'm doing right now is I am paying attention to the chart, and I'm seeing where I could possibly short. And what I would be looking for, again, is this blue area to short. And in Ethereum has run up pretty high at this point. I would be looking for Ethereum to get a little bit higher for me to start considering to short. Okay, like right over here. So this is what I'm looking at, which is the 50% line that I've got marked out over here. this is an order block that we're at right now. You can see it, and actually this chart looks pretty damn gross if you ask me. But if it comes up to here at least, I mean, we might get a reaction where I can nibble a little bit of a short and kind of run with that for a little bit. So anyway, I hope that was clear. I hope if you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. And if you do find these charts and you know what I'm doing interesting enough, please consider liking, subscribing, or possibly even sharing some of the videos. It'll definitely help our channel grow, but also it'll grab a community that will be able to collectively look at these charts and, you know, trade together. All right, guys, hope all is well. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.